All right, good evening, and welcome to the September 23rd meeting of the Nixa City Council. Call the meeting to order.
Jay Ortiz.
Here.
Kelly Morris. Here. Sean Lucas.
Here.
Aaron Peterson.
Here.
Darlene Graham. Zern Vess.
Here.
And we actually have some visitors tonight, so if I could have Troop 200, please go ahead and come up to the front up here, and they are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you guys very much. You did great, and thanks for being here. All right, has everyone had a chance to review the consent agenda? If so, would anybody like anything removed? If not, I will accept a motion.
So made.
Second.
First by Mr. Lucas, a second by Mr. Peterson. Roll call, please.
Zern Vess.
Yes.
Aaron Peterson.
Yes.
Kelly Morris.
yes.
Sean Lucas.
Yes.
Jay Ortiz.
Yes.
All right. All right. First on the agenda is service awards. We have Josh Gibson, 20 years with code enforcement. Not sure which one of you guys wants to take this.
That is Joshua Aloysius Gibson. He is here tonight. 20 years with the city. Only one of those years has been in code enforcement in the planning and development department, but he's been a valued team member since showing up, and judging by how hard it was to get him from the police department, where he was the animal control officer, he is a valued member whichever department he works in. So we are very thankful to have him. He is, to use a sports reference, he is a utility player for our department. You can catch him at the front counter. He can be answering phones. He can be out in the field. He can be doing rental inspections. He can be doing almost any aspect that you can find in the planning and development department. So he is a valued member. 20 years, hopefully we can get 20 more out of him. He's still young. I've known Josh for a while. I will say he is very active in the community. You can find him on the sidelines of the football field for the Nixa Eagles. He's even participates for the baseball team. I can tell you about 2009, he put together a 3-on-3 basketball team that looked very good on paper, but we stunk when it came time to actually play, and I still blame Josh for that. But 20 years. Thanks, Josh.
Not many places you go, you don't run into Mr. Gibson, that's for sure. He's involved in anything and everything. All right. Next up, we have a proclamation. All right. Whereas in 1936, the United States Congress passed a joint congressional resolution designating the last Sunday in September as Gold Star Mother's Day, and whereas 2011, President Obama expanded the observance to include all Gold Star families, officially renaming the observance Gold Star Mothers and Families Day. And whereas Gold Star Mothers and Families Day honors the mothers, fathers, spouses, siblings, and all family members of fallen military service members, and whereas the City of Nixa values and respects the immeasurable sacrifices made by our service members and their families who have given so much in defense of our nation and the freedoms we hold dear. And whereas we are grateful and acknowledge the brave men and women in uniform who gave their lives in service, and to the families who carry their memory and legacy with unwavering strength. And whereas the debt we owe our fallen service members and their families is one that can never fully be repaid. Their sacrifice forms the very foundations of the freedoms we enjoy today. And whereas on this day of remembrance, the city of Nixa reaffirms its commitment to honoring Gold Star mothers and families. We recognize their profound loss, we stand with them in solidarity, and we vow to preserve the memory and legacy of their loved ones. Now therefore, I, Jared Giddens, Mayor for the City of Nixa, do hereby proclaim September 28th, 2025 as Gold Star Mothers and Fathers Day, or Family Day, sorry. And the individual who had requested this was unable to be here. Mr. Gertis, are you still going to accept this one today?
I spoke with her and I told her that we would hold off until she could make it.
Perfect.
She just got out of the hospital today. So
Okay, perfect. Yeah, just have her contact me whenever she's doing better. Thank you. All right, next up is our presentation section, and today we have a presentation from Anna Evans with Show Me Christian County.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be here tonight. Thank you so much for allowing us to come and give an update. I think the last time our team came and officially presented to Nixa City Council was March of this year, so it's been several months, and we've had a lot of activity going on since that time. Our president, Kristen, currently is representing Christian County along with Whitney Geeson with the Nixa Chamber of Commerce on the Springfield Chamber's community leadership visit to Cincinnati, Ohio. So we've got some great representation on a regional level, and we're looking forward to seeing what those two bring back and the insights that they gain from that. I will provide a copy of the report that I'm reading from to the city clerk, and she will be able to forward that to all of you. I apologize, Rebecca, for not getting that to you in ahead of time, but we will get that to you as soon as possible. Show Me Christian County, our three areas of focus can really be boiled down to business development, community enhancement, and promoting Christian County. And so everything we do falls into one of those buckets. And in Nixa specifically, under our business development section, right now we are currently working on 7 active projects and 11 project leads in Nixa, and most of those projects are actual site development and new construction. So those would be the development of a site right now that might not have currently the infrastructure or the utility connection or the internet capacity required. So these projects are really focused on trying to build those building blocks of site development in order to market those sites for end users. We also are working on at least one expansion of an existing facility, and we are really excited to partner with that business who's working on expansion. That active expansion project work came out of a business retention and expansion discussion with that organization and has turned into an active project. So we're really excited about that, and we'll be able to share more as soon as we can. We were honored to partner with Children's Smile Center on their groundbreaking, and you can see their ongoing construction. That will be a relocation and an expansion of Children's Smile Center to Nixa, which will bring more than 10 jobs into the community above the county average wage. So we are excited to see the progress on that headquarters and to have them provide that very needed service right here in the community. Under community enhancement, we all, last time we spoke, we kind of updated you on some grant applications that we had worked on in partnership with the fantastic city staff here. As of now, those grant applications for park improvements and amenities are still under review. So as soon as we have something to update you on, we will let you know. But those projects have not been announced yet. We are, over the summer, communicating directly with our state legislators on issues affecting Christian County communities. And those, you will start to see our legislators working now at this point in the fall on really refining some of the legislation that they want to pre-file, and you will see those bills being pre-filed on December 1. So now is a good time to have those conversations with our local and our regional representation, so we are doing that. And then our team continues to participate in an advisory capacity with the Nixa Downtown Association, and the Nixa Chamber of Commerce's Developing Christian County Professionals Committee to remain really engaged with the existing businesses here and to make sure that we're hearing from and able to speak to the current businesses and hear what their needs are. And then under Promote Christian County, that's twofold. Our job really is, number one, to market Christian County communities as great destinations for business investment. And then we also have really taken the lead in trying to market Christian County communities, again, as great destinations for tourism spending via our exploreccmo.com website. We do have, if you all haven't had a chance to visit the Show Me Christian County page, we have a sites and buildings page on the Show Me Christian County website that we do our best to keep updated as much as possible. And every time we check our analytics, that's consistently one of, if not the highest visited page on the site. People are very interested to know what's available, what's out there, what's coming. And we also are excited to announce there will be a new resource coming soon to showcase Christian County sites, specifically to site selectors and to be able to pull some data reporting. And that will be available through partnership with OREP, which is the Ozarks Regional Economic Partnership in a 10-county region. And we will have more on that as soon as there is more to tell. ExploreCCMO.com is our dedicated travel and tourism website, and we've had a lot of movement on that front. Our team was able, in partnership with the Branson CVB, actually at their invitation, we traveled to the Missouri State Fair's Leisure Travel and Trade Show. They have a tourism day during the Missouri State Fair every year. And Christian County and Explore Christian County was featured that day, and we got some great engagement from the attendees of the Missouri State Fair and a lot of interest in Christian County from that, so we were excited about that. And if you are driving through locally, Nixa, Ozark, Springfield, or Republic, or regionally in Joplin or Lebanon or some areas of southwest Kansas, you might see a billboard featuring Christian County that is up right now thanks to our partners from Lamar Advertising. They have dedicated some billboard space to Explore CCMO in markets that are within a day's drive of our region to try to attract more tourism and spending here, and we're excited about that. Finally, note for you, SMCC hosts informal economic development discussions on the first Tuesday of each month at 10 a.m. Each of you, I believe, should have received an invitation today to our upcoming meeting, which will feature Jeff Pinkerton. He is Missouri's Director of Economic Research for the Missouri Department of Economic Development. We have a great relationship with Jeff. He provides a lot of data for us. He will be here in town in person, talking about Christian County's key economic indicators and then kind of zooming out and taking a look at how that compares to the rest of the state and other states in our Midwest region as well. So we are really excited about that meeting, and we encourage you to attend. And again, we are always happy to speak further and answer any questions you might have, but that is the snapshot in time of kind of our Nixa focuses and activities for right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Did you breathe once during all that?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for those that didn't catch it, because it might have been a little fast, showmeccmo.com is the Show Me website, and then exploreccmo.com. Definitely check those out. They're doing a really good job for economic development in this area. All right. And next up is our visitors section. I believe we've got a couple signed up.
Yeah, Mike with Midwest Infrastructure Coatings.
Well, I want to thank everybody for allowing us time to speak. We'll make this short. For those of you who don't know, I'm Michael Vavruska with Midwest Infrastructure Coatings. This is Brian Baker. We've been doing work for the city of Nixa for probably 4 years now, doing a lot of your manhole rehabilitation. And last year, we got the opportunity to do a really cool project down at the wastewater treatment plant. And we knew it was cool. We knew it was going to turn out be something a little different than the normal, manhole lining. But shortly after it was done, and I was posting it on social media, I got contacted by an editor of a national wastewater magazine. And they found it very interesting. They wrote up a piece on it. And so tonight, if I could I have Kirk Ferris, Jason Stutzman come to the front? And Kirk, just so you know, you're here because of me. It's my fault, dude. You're not in trouble. You're not in trouble, I promise. Or at least I don't think you are.
I'm good, Nick. Yeah.
So we took the magazine article, once we got it back and seen what big a deal it was, we wanted to do something special for these guys because they're the ones that got it off the ground. We just got to be a part of it. And we thought that'd be something cool to have in your office. So we appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So our clarifiers, down at the wastewater treatment plant, they're 23 years old. And by bringing Mike in, they were able to line everything, probably give it another 50 years of life, as opposed to having to try to just regrout, all the existing concrete. So,
Or build new ones.
or build new ones.
We've got one more to do. This was the first, and was the first one to do in the state of Missouri. So,
It was the biggest project that OBIC had ever been a part of. That's the company that provided the product that Midwest
so we
put
were,
on.
we were kind of the groundbreaker on this, and then Hannibal followed right after us, and so it's kind of took off after that, so.
Awesome. Great work, fellas.
Thanks.
So that's definitely one thing that's been great since being involved in the city is all the different awards that different departments get. A lot of things that I'd never even heard of. So I've learned a lot, that's for sure. And it's good to see we're leading the way in some stuff, and I like it. All right. Okay, we don't have anybody else signed up for the visitor section. If there is anyone here who would like to speak about anything that is not currently on the agenda, you can do so at this time. Fair enough. I will close the visitor section. All right. Next up will be our first reading of ordinances. Ms. Coffey, could you please read Council Bill 2025-28?
First reading Council Bill number 2025-28, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa annexing approximately 96 acres of real property generally located at the southwest corner of the intersection of State Highway CC and North Cheyenne Road, zoning portions of said property to single-family residential R1 zoning district and the general commercial GC zoning district, and amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 1, Section 2-26 of the Nixa City Code. Presenting is Planning and Development Director Scott Gavi.
Mayor, council, good evening. Mayor, would you also like me to read the preliminary plat in association with this one as well at the same time?
Yes, please.
Do you-
First reading Council Bill number 2025-29, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa approving the preliminary plat of the subdivision known as Moore Estates, which is generally located at the southwest corner of the intersection of State Highway CC and North Cheyenne Road, and authorizing certain city officials to take certain actions upon the filing of the final plat.
Thank you. So again, these are two separate agenda items, but they're related to the same piece of property, so therefore presentation would be very similar if I did it twice. So Again, the first part of this is a voluntary annexation of 96 acres. It is located at the southwest corner of Highway CC and North Cheyenne Road. It consists of 3 separate parcels. There is a separate, another piece of property within this area, but that accesses Cheyenne Road, but it is not part of the voluntary annexation. They are requesting that approximately 93 acres be zoned for R1 single family, and then about 2.7 acres be zoned for general commercial. And again, this property, if approved, would be added to Council District 1. So for the surrounding land uses, it's primarily single family to the south and a portion of it to the west. There is some multifamily to the west, that is the Castlewood Senior Living facility. And then there's also some general commercial that is to the west, that is the Wicklow Clubhouse and Pool. Those are located within the city limits. There is also some single-family and undeveloped property outside of city limits located out in the county on the east side of Cheyenne Road and then also north of Highway CC. So this property is located within the Tier 1 area of our 3-tier planning map. Tier 1 is the area that is usually directly adjacent to city limits and is also the area where we expect to be able to provide urban level services to within 1 to 5 years is typically the time frame, but anything that's adjacent to our city limits is typically located within Tier 1. Also, as part of our Nixa 2045, our new comprehensive plan, there's a priority annexation areas. So this piece of property is not identified as a priority annexation area, therefore it does not have a designated future land use in our comprehensive plan. So as part of the annexation and preliminary plat, a traffic impact study was conducted based off the proposed development. The recommendation or the determination from that impact study was that no traffic control or geometric roadway improvements are necessary to maintain an acceptable level of service in this area. So that would be primarily the lighted intersection there at CC and Cheyenne. As part of the development, the developer will be installing right in, right out onto Highway CC, and then also they'll be expanding Cheyenne Road in this portion of it to the west, which would be onto their property. It would create some islands in the middle of Cheyenne in this area, similar to what is in front of the X Center on North Street. It will primarily be there so that way the overhead electric wouldn't have to be moved, but there will be turn lanes coming in off of that. CC and Cheyenne are both classified as primary arterials. The necessary right-of-way to conform with the street corridor, the classification of the road has been identified and is shown on the annexation plat and will be dedicated if approved. Stormwater, so there's a sinkhole evaluation was performed in 2024. It identified 9 sinkholes. There is also FEMA floodplain located in the southeast portion of this property. So any development in this area will have to conform to city standards as it relates to karst topography, which is the sinkholes, and also development in or around the FEMA floodplain. So if we're on the annexation side of things, actually on both sides of things, the Planning and Zoning Commission met August 5th for a reading of these 2 agenda items. The Planning and Zoning Commission received additional information at that meeting from the developer, and they elected to table those agenda items till the September meeting. I'll actually get back to that in a minute. When it comes to the preliminary plat for Moore Estates proposes 234 buildable single-family lots and also includes 7 non-buildable common area lots that are to be maintained by the HOA that will be established as part of that development. It also establishes 1 general commercial lot located at the intersection of CC and Cheyenne. As part of it, there's a big 100-foot KMO electric easement that runs east to west through this piece of property. It actually is on the north end of the estates of Enniskerry, which is in Wicklow. So there'll be a pretty much 100-foot buffer from that north property line before development in more states could begin. The utilities for this project, there is an existing 12-inch sewer main located to the west of this property that is sufficient to serve the development. It will flow through the Northeast Regional Lift Station, so therefore capacity will have to be purchased before flow can be sent to that lift station. The developer is going to keep one of the existing homes that sits on the approximately 73 acre piece of property. That home is currently served by a different electric provider other than the city of Nixa, so therefore they are allowed to keep that electric service provider if they so choose, and they have chosen to do that. Water is kind of the big topic on this one, so I'll come back to that one. Transportation, again, a right-in, right-out on the Highway CC because there is limited site visibility at that location. There is lot 234, which is towards the southeast portion. It's kind of separated from the rest of this development. From the floodplain has kind of separated it from the rest of it. So the developer will be seeking an exemption from the OTO, the Ozarks Transportation Organization, as due to the classification of Cheyenne Road, residential driveway, no new residential driveways are allowed to be access Cheyenne Road. So if that exemption is not granted, then the developer will explore other options for lot 234. So again, at the September 2nd Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the developer spoke to the commission primarily about a 12-inch water line and how it should be able to provide adequate water services to the area. Citizens also approached the commission to express concerns about additional traffic, the potential for no architectural review in more estates, and there was also some concerns about maintenance of the common areas. With all these things considered, the Planning and Zoning Commission did vote 3-2 to recommend approval of the annexation and the preliminary plat to City Council. So the preliminary plat does conform to sections 115 and 117 regarding subdivision development, zoning, and dimensional regulation standards. And it also is compact and contiguous to current city limits, so therefore it is eligible for annexation. But again, this is a voluntary annexation. So when it comes to the water issue, not related to rain, thank you, Public Works, for turning the rain off. So City Council has been provided with a lot of supplemental information. Hopefully you've had time to review that information. It includes information from the developer as well as from city staff. This is the same information that was provided to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The main portion of it that I wanted to stress upon is the March 19 technical memo from Olson. That is the one where city staff funded that report, and our recommendations, or what we would like to see for the improvements to the water system in that area, are based off of. So as part of that March 19th technical memo, it included a recommendation for 4,900 feet of new 16-inch water line along Cheyenne Road from Tower 7 to Highway CC with 3 connections to the Moore Estates development. Also as part of that was 1,800 feet of new 12-inch water line from the corner of Cheyenne Road and Highway CC to the intersection of Carnegie and Sparrow, which means they would have to bore under Highway CC, and it would provide a loop up from Bluebird Hills down to the rest of our system. It would also include 1,100 feet of new 8-inch water line from East Galway to Cheyenne Road. Galway is within the estates of Enniskerry, so there is a line very close by that could be extended to provide another loop. The developer is proposing a 12-inch water line along Cheyenne Road to the proposed development, and also following the alternative recommendations found in the May 27th, 2025 technical memo by Olson. So staff is recommending denial of the annexation and the preliminary plat, as we have concerns how the water line is proposed to be developed and how it could negatively impact our existing customers, and also how it could possibly not provide adequate coverage to more estates. I try not to get too far into the technical side of things. There are experts here tonight that I'm sure will dive into that. But again, staff does recommend denial of both the voluntary annexation and the proposed preliminary plat. And since we are going to get technical, I would like to introduce Jared Rasmussen with Olson. He can probably get more into that side of things than I can. So if you have any questions, I'll be available. But anything related to water, ask the subject matter experts.
Thank you.
All right. First of all, I'm Jared Rasmussen, Senior Vice President with Olson, and I'm based out of our Springfield office. I wanted to start out a little bit with describing, we mentioned several different reports that were prepared by Olson, one on behalf of the city, one on behalf of the developer. While we were working with approval from the city to work with the developer, we were running some different options. So I just kind of want to walk through this a little bit to give you some context about the different studies that were done and the recommendations that are provided in those. So first of all, we prepared a study in March of this year where we looked at how to provide 1,500, make sure that a water system can convey 1,500 gallons a minute in a fire flow scenario for residential and 3,500 gallons a minute for commercial lot. As I understand, the zoning case before us is not just for residential, but it's also for commercial use. In that study, we found that a minimum of a 16-inch line needed to be installed down Cheyenne, and that a 12-inch loop needed to be pushed up to the north there, which I think is Bluebird Estates. Is that?
Yep.
Okay. To Bluebird Estates to the north there. And then there was some connectivity adjacent to the development there. That also provide adequate fire flows and increased pressures in a lot of the surrounding areas of interest that we were studying as a part of the overall study. In May, we worked with the city, we worked with the developer on behalf of the city to look at alternate options that could be one, a win-win scenario for the city, but also reduce costs for the developer. So we looked at two different options there. One was a 16-inch line with some alternative connection points to the existing city system down by Well Tower 7. And then we also looked at a 12-inch scenario. In both of those scenarios, we did not make the connection loop that goes up to the Bluebird to the north across CC there at Cheyenne. When we looked at those scenarios, we did find that we did see increased pressures and flows in the residential component to the surrounding neighborhoods. However, what we did find was that we do not meet those flows when it comes to with a 12-inch line to meet adequate fire capacity for commercial use. So I just wanted to point that piece out. That's a little bit different than maybe what's in the staff report. The fire flow issue is really what's driving this conversation when we're talking about commercial use. A 16-inch line in that scenario got close, but it was on a razor's edge, I would say. Actually, it was a little bit below the 3,500 gallon minimum that was set by the city. It was like 3,470 or somewhere around those numbers and round numbers. And I point that out because when we do these studies, they're not 100% accurate. And I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware that we're really close, but I don't think it was right at the number that was needed to be to meet the commercial fire flow scenarios. We also followed up with a letter to the developer in August of this year, and that was, I think, around the time that Planning and Zoning tabled the previous one. And in that letter, we were trying to look at, we were looking with the developer to see what a 12-inch line would do as far as pressures were concerned within the area of influence around the overall development. We did find, again, that pressures are increased when a 12-inch line is added, and they do increase flows from the residential to the residential neighborhoods that are around and south of this development. However, it still doesn't address the issue that where we have a fire flow capacity scenario at the commercial front. So then again, we followed up a letter after speaking with the developer to try to explain the difference between what was looked at in March versus what was looked at in May. And really it was the same discussion, that in March we were able to see a scenario that provides adequate both residential and fire flow capacity and increases pressures in the overall one. The one we looked at in May, again, increases residential pressures and flows, but it doesn't address the fire flow concern from a commercial standpoint. So really what I wanted to mention to you today, it's the commercial component of this overall development that's causing some difficulty from the city's perspective when we look at this overall development and making sure that it works within the city's system. So I'm happy to answer any specific questions you may have, but I wanted to at least kind of walk through these different studies that are out there, letters that we've provided to both the developer and the city to make sure that I answered any questions you may have.
I did have a question. You mentioned that in March you had the scenario with it looping into the Bluebird subdivision, but in May, neither of the scenarios you ran had that loop, correct?
That's correct. We wanted to see what would happen if we disconnected that and what the flows and pressures would
Did
look
you
like.
run a scenario with that loop in May as well? Or is that was without the loop, that the 16-inch came close but did not?
Right. If we would have ran it with that connection, it would have been the same as the March study because it's the same connection.
Thank you.
One thing that I found interesting on the study was what month were the pressures tested?
The calibration of the study happened back, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Doug, was it February, January or February? That was the only time really available to start to kind of model those. Those probably don't align with where you're seeing your peak pressures and flows, just because of when sprinkler systems and stuff kick on.
Yeah, because that was the one thing that really kind of caught me by surprise with, I mean, I know I don't use as much water in February as I do, say, August. All right. Anybody else have any questions? I do appreciate your guys' time and clarity on my millions of questions that I've had over the past 2 weeks, so.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions for Mr. Godby? Just looking for a reason to make him come back up. All right. All right, if no other questions, I will open up the public hearing. Do we have anybody signed up as a visitor? Okay. Nobody has signed up, but if you would like to speak on this, feel free to do so. You just need to fill out a speaker card and go at it. Yeah.
Do you want me to fill out the speaker card before I speak? Or after?
You can do it after. You're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Brian Wade, and I'm representing the developer. And I have been here a couple of times talking to the Planning and Zoning Commission as well about this issue. So I think you already know, as you've indicated by your questions, what this is about. It's about an annexation. Of course, that's the first ordinance that was read, and then the preliminary plat. So the reason for the proposed annexation is because the developer wants to build a subdivision. So you heard Mr. Godby explain to you that the subdivision proposed meets all the requirements of the city code. It's as it's supposed to be, both with sewer and stormwater and roads and traffic. A traffic study was done. So if, in fact, the annexation is approved, then it shouldn't be an issue with respect to the plat. Now, as you also heard and you knew, the Planning and Zoning Commission, after hearing lots of information and reading lots of information, recommended that you approve the annexation and approve the plat. It was 3-2, but it was a recommendation for approval. And I think it's fair to say that most of the conversation during both of those planning and zoning presentations was about the water. So I think rather than rehash all of that, I just want to focus you in on a couple of things that I hope you'll consider when you're considering approval of the proposal. In August, or excuse me, after the Planning and Zoning Commission tabled the proposal or the application in the first hearing, it asked for more information, or it asked for information or more time to review the information we had submitted. And we found out that they had not seen the study that Mr. Rasmussen just referenced. So we provided that, as well as an explanation in my letter of August 18th, which I understand Mr. Godby presented to you or provided to you in the packet. So on the second page of that letter, it makes reference to the 2024 International Fire Code. And it says the minimum fire flow requirement for buildings other than 1 and 2 family dwellings is 1,500 gallons per minute. And I underlined and bolded that, 1,500 gallons per minute, explaining that the proposed 12-inch line to the Moore subdivision more than met the requirement of the International Fire Code. I did not, I think, or maybe I made the wrong assumption that the Planning and Zoning Commission knew that the International Fire Code was adopted and incorporated by reference into your city code. At section 103-1, the city has adopted and incorporated by reference the ICC International Fire Prevention Code, 2018 edition. Now, I cited to the 2024 edition, but I think by reference, you continue to adopt those codes. So that is the standard. And the reason I bring that up is because I think Mr. Godby or someone suggested to City Council that there isn't a code or a minimum gallon per minute fire flow that they can follow under the terms of the code. That's just not correct. The International Fire Code has been adopted. That's your standard to apply in this case. In each of the flow models that you've been presented that Mr. Jeske authored, the proposal more than meets those minimums that are incorporated into the code. So the 12-inch line proposed by the developer, as Mr. Rasmussen said, provides additional water flow to the other subdivisions surrounding the proposed Moore Estates. He just told you that. Mr. Hines is going to reiterate that. He's going to tell you the same thing. The only issue is, there are two issues here for you to think about. Why is it that somebody told Mr. Jeske to apply a 3,500 gallon per minute fire flow to this project when it's not in the code and there's only one commercial lot? Because he told you that there's only one commercial lot, and that's the only issue with the water, that it doesn't meet the 3,500 gallon per minute fire flow. He didn't tell you whether that was a standard in the code, because it's not. It's 1,500. The other thing you weren't told is that there is no 16-inch water line in the city of Nixa. Nobody else has built one. Nixa has not required another developer to build a 16-inch line. They're all 12-inch lines. The developer in this case is proposing to build a 12-inch line. And in the letter that I submitted, I told you, and there was testimony about it at Planning and Zoning, the 12-inch line costs $692,370, and they've already agreed to do that. The 16-inch line costs $1,284,092.50. That's a difference of almost $600,000 for a proposed 16-inch line that is not required by your code and has never been required of any other developer in Nixa. So if you're thinking about denying this proposal on the basis that they don't meet the 3,500 gallon per minute fire flow, I want you to be clear that that is not in your code. Your code says 1,500 if it incorporates by reference the International Fire Code. So we think that since the property is in Tier 1 and Tier 1 property in your comprehensive plan, it's proposed to be annexed by the City of Nixa. If the City of Nixa can provide or has, if it knows that utilities will be provided, and it does, that it should be annexed. It is reasonable. The developer's met all the criteria. The developer's willing to install the 12-inch line. The developer's willing to meet all the preliminary plat and plat requirements. We think that it is reasonable and appropriate for you to apply your common sense here and approve it, just as Planning and Zoning did when they considered it last month. Do you have any questions?
So I do have one question. So obviously you've reviewed all the the models and all that. Have you been over in the surrounding neighborhoods and seen the water pressure?
I have been in the surrounding neighborhoods. I've not been invited into a house to really look at the
Okay.
water pressure.
Because that's kind of what started a lot of this talk on the water, is there has been numerous complaints over the last years for serious issues in water pressure. And that is one reason that, we have it's planned in the future to improve that area. But up until, this point, we didn't have any knowledge of any development before this. And I believe that the city did reach out to try to get information from the landowner in the past, which I believe is also in the packet. I don't believe, I know it is. It's in the packet. And there wasn't really a response on that to really give the city any ideas on whether they should start planning for future growth in that area or not. So kind of went the other direction. We're actually planning a massive infrastructure upgrade on the west and south sides of Nixa. So I could show you a video of my sprinkler. I actually went and bought a sprinkler from Walmart. Just a regular sprinkler, hooked it up to the hose, and it actually, Mr. Vest got to witness it as well. It goes about 5 feet in the air and doesn't have enough power to even move it. I also have 3 females in my house that use conditioner.
I do too.
That becomes a problem when they can't get it out of their hair. So that's really what led into a lot of the main discussions about the water pressure and the concern of what could possibly happen. And just as well as the rest of us that the main goal of the city council is to make sure that we can responsibly annex property in, not just annex it in because it's there and available and touches city limits. And so there is a lot of concern there. There's a lot of concerns with the water models, with the fact that they're not 100% accurate, and the what ifs. Because we had a pretty serious fire on Sunday, not right there close, but in Nixa. And it's a good thing that they had adequate pressure to put the fire out, because the surrounding homes could have been affected. The people could have lost a lot more in their home. And I personally don't like gambling on it could possibly work. There might not be a problem. So that I just wanted you to have an understanding of where all the questions came from, and honestly where I'm coming from on this, because I am concerned. Because my responsibility is to every single person that already lives in the area.
No, I appreciate that, and I think it's a valid concern. I think that you and myself and probably all the council members here don't know much about engineering in particular.
I know a lot
Or
more
maybe
right
you
now
do.
than I thought I ever would. I'll tell you that.
I guess I shouldn't presume that. But I guess I would like the council to consider this. Mr. Rasmussen, I think, alluded to it, didn't talk in great detail about it. Mr. Hines, who's a well-respected engineer in Nixa, will talk about it in a minute, that the 12-inch line that's proposed by the developer will enhance the water flow to the existing subdivisions where the mayor lives. And their opinions, both, are that your sprinkler system will work better after more estates is developed. Now, I can't explain that, but hopefully Mr. Hines will be able to explain that to you. What I wanted you to understand and take away from this is that the developer's proposed annexation and subdivision more than meet your city code. And based on the opinions of 2 well-respected engineers, enhance, not detract from the adjacent landowners. So, and I also don't think this is a gamble for City Council to approve this, because we heard testimony from the city staff at Planning and Zoning that at some point a water tower will be built in the area. So as I understand it from their testimony, that will solve the problem for everybody if there's a problem. So with respect to your sprinkler and the ladies that live in your home that have conditioner in their hair, I understand that, believe me. That will be fixed when the city brings in that water tower. So my point is, if you're a gambling person, why not take the risk? If these two engineers tell you it's going to make it better, it's not going to get better if nothing happens. So why not take the risk? And I just told you what the costs were. How is this developer going to take a $600,000 hit? I'm speculating, but that's a $600,000 increase in the cost of this project to build a 16-inch line that arguably isn't required by your code. So I think it's worth the risk. I think it's worth the shot because ultimately the water tower is going to work out when that's built. But if this is built and water pressures do get better and pressures and gallons do flow, as Mr. Hines say, it's worth taking the chance. And the developer's done everything they're required to do here. Thank you.
Thank you. I will, while Mr. Hines comes up, as much as I would love to build a water tower tomorrow, we just recently got quotes on a new water tower, and when we used to pay below $3 million for one, the cheapest quote that we received was $8.6 million. About right? So
It was close to that, 8.2,
8 point, somewhere around there. So the costs have gone up considerably. You getting it all figured out, Clayton?
What's that?
You getting it all figured out?
Slow. I'm slow.
All right. Hello. All right. I'm Clayton Hines with Schaefer and Hines, civil engineering firm here in Nixa. So I'm cut to the chase and talk about water because that's what everybody's talking about. So we certainly worked a long time on this, basically, and staff had a lot of concerns, as you guys are raising, about water pressures in the area. No surprises to us, okay? We've known about them for a long time, and we listened to staff. So you've got the models. There are 2 different studies, and there's some explanations and things like that. One of the things that when we met with Jerry Jeske at Olson, and we were looking at things that I was a proponent of and that I was pushing for, was really listening to staff, because staff's like, we're not seeing what this model's showing out in the field. I understand that. So that's when I specifically asked Jerry, hey, can you really push this model and make this system fail? What happens when it fails? Because when you're talking to people who live in the area and they're talking about, having no water pressure or very little water pressure, something's going on. We understand that. So Jerry was able to do that, and that's not in your reports, but it is in the exhibit. So you do have this. So basically, on that one over there, I got to move around a little bit. We just focus right here in the middle, basically, which is at the roundabout in Wicklow. You can see we're saying this is an existing condition in a stress test. I call it failure stress test. So we're going to flow so much water through this system that we're going to take all the pressures down close to zero as we can, basically, okay? So we're really looking for a worst case scenario. And then as an engineer, I realize models aren't perfect. Everybody knows models aren't perfect. Not everybody uses water the same time or the same amount, and a model assumes that's happening. So we understand that. But what I want to look at when that happens then is what happens when we make an improvement. So our improvement would be a 12-inch line down Cheyenne Road with an 8-inch loop into Wicklow, basically right behind the Castlewood. So when we do that, we can see all the pressures go up. Now, hey, these pressures aren't anything to brag about. I'm not saying that. But I don't know that we're seeing zero pressures today, even though they're low. So what this is showing me is that this is a good improvement from what I call helping the bottom fall out. We don't want that bottom to fall out. Now, in water mechanics, basically, you got this hydraulic grade line, which is set by your water towers, okay? So neither the 16-inch nor the 12-inch scenario is going to just, cause so much water pressure that you got to turn your shower down. Okay, the only thing that's really going to help that is in the future for a water tower. So working for my client, basically, we're looking at what can we do that meets everything we need in our proposed subdivision, and we don't want to hurt anybody. Okay, if we can, we want to help. And when we look at the 12-inch, all the data from the models are showing that it's going to help. This is one scenario where it shows this helps the region, plus we're getting what we need in our subdivision, and we're helping. It does not bring the Wicklow area up to the same standards that we're held to, but it's increasing it, okay? That's the first thing that I look at beyond what the typical water model. This is beyond what the typical water model is going to show. So then the second thing, the second thing I wanted to look at that's certainly in the model, but it really wasn't in the reports, and these exhibits are part of your package too, is really what's going on with these flow splits. So the existing situation now is we're looking at how much water goes down Old Castle Road, and 201 is going into the Bluebird Hill subdivision, and 34 isn't going to our site, but it's going into the Castlewood. So I'm real curious, what's happening at that point, how much flow is going, in which direction, okay? So with our 12-inch water line and 8-inch loop in there, you can see we have 412 in max day demand, extra gallons a minute, that we're able to push into the system, which is going to basically take care of everything in Bluebird Hills, and also still have excess, and we're going to push 178 gallons a minute back into the system. That's a big deal, folks. That's the magic of the water line loop right there. Could you say a 16-inch, would it be more? Sure. I'm not going to argue that. But the 12-inch gives this development what it needs, and it still has excess to help the area. I can go back to my college days. This stuff is taught because those flow splits are really important, is which way is the water flowing. What that also shows me is it's going to be very difficult for that flow to be reversed. So what I mean by that is basically we're saying, hey, if we put this development in, are we going to hurt somebody else? Now, if we were only putting 0 or 50 or 100 gallons a minute in, could there be a scenario where we're taking water from the surrounding area and pulling it into our subdivision? But when I see a number like that on the max day, I'm like, all we're doing is helping the surrounding area. We're not taking from, we're putting into. So when I see those things, and all these numbers are from Olson's report, but when I see those things, I feel pretty good about standing up here and saying, hey, this 12-inch line not only gives this development what it needs, it helps the area. That's about all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Want me to
help him before I talk. That'll help. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Julie Tobash. I'm with O'Reilly Real Estate Partners. My partner, Pat O'Reilly, and I are the developers for Moore Estates project. I had this whole thing I was going to read tonight, but I think I'll just start with the water pressure. We hear you. I know two of you guys live in Wicklow. We developed Wicklow. We understand that you guys have water issues. We're not denying that. We even met with some of the homeowners. They had mentioned that as well. I don't think this is about water pressure. I think, quite honestly, we're confused what this is about. If it was about water pressure, they would cut across the Macaulay Field and put a line in direct to Tracker Road and increase your water pressure. So we're just left perplexed as to what this is about because, I mean, we've got two engineers saying that a 12-inch water line works. It is enough water for our subdivision, and it doesn't hurt the surrounding areas. In fact, it increases Wicklow's pressure. A larger line gives you more water volume, and it increases your water pressure by 1 PSI. And to me, that's not worth the cost difference for 1 PSI. For $135,000, the city can put a 10-inch water line from Cheyenne Road and connect to Tracker Road. I gave them that cost price per their request. I think Olson plugged that into their water model, and it did increase your water pressure substantially. There's an option if you guys want to increase Wicklow's water pressure even more. But I do think adding the 12-inch water line will work in helping you guys. I did email Jerry Jeske yesterday. He said he had not been contacted by the city of Nixa to come tonight. I did not realize Mr. Rasmussen would be here until this evening. Jerry Jeske was available. He's actually a water specialist, and he's the one who did the water model. To be clear, we did not ask him or hire him to do a secondary water model. So those are not true facts. The truth is that we met with him because we just wanted to see where we were at. We know you guys have a CIP plan. What do you guys have in store coming down the line? Can we buy this property and sit on it and wait until you guys put in additional improvements? And will it work for us? So when we sat down with Mr. Jeske, we said, hey, where are we at? Like, what were the parameters the city gave you? And it was the 1,500 gallon per minute, the 2,500 PSI, and the 3,500 PSI max day demand. And we said, how close are we? For 1,500, the only thing we didn't meet, we were like 1,488. We're like, oh my gosh, we're so close. What if we add a water line here? Add a water line here, what can we do? Because we knew the cost was so great for that 16-inch water line. And so we started plugging and just seeing what we could do, if there was anything else we could do, looking at options. And that's when nothing was changing. That 1488 wasn't changing. The water model crashed, we left, we came back to follow-up meeting, and he said, oh my gosh, Julie, you're gonna be so happy, we found an error in our model. It was a velocity setting. That's not anything we asked them to change. That is not anything that we even knew was wrong. Jerry Jeske didn't even know that setting was in there incorrectly. He found that on his own, and I'm tired of being accused of asking him to change it. I also want to bring to your attention, we submitted our application for annexation and preliminary plat back in December of 2024. That's when we were asked to do the water study. In January council meeting, you guys approved annexation for a 23-acre parcel at CC and Monet for industrial use. and they didn't have to do a water study. That application was probably submitted in December, like mine. It's on the same water line. I don't know what kind of effect that's going to have on your Wicklow water pressure, but I think if we're going to have developers be required to do certain things, I think everyone should be required to do them. And that's all I got. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
William Hagner?
Good evening. I'm here just to basically, as a private citizen, telling them the way things are, the way I see them. I used to live in Cheyenne, Wyoming, just north of Denver. I saw so many little towns go through a building spurt, and their infrastructures were outstripped. The developers made out great, but the people who were left behind, they had to fix all the problems, which is water, sewer, all the amenities such as the police department, the health care service, the schools. We, the people who live here are going to have to pay for that after it's all said and done. I hear about water studies. That's fine and dandy, but you're trying to fix a problem now, and that's still going to be increasing, so you're going to have to keep that going. The best thing you can do is slow everything down, take care of the problems, fix the water problems, because I know you have them. In about 6 o'clock in the morning, I get up, feed my cats. I put the water on. I have about a third the pressure I usually have during the day. So there are water pressure problems, and you're not going to fix that by building and keeping up with supplying an adequate amount of pressure. You can do all the studies you want, but I saw this firsthand down from Colorado, a lot of little towns. They were left to have to pay for all these problems after development was all said and done, and it cost them a lot. I don't want to see it happen to our town. I don't think the people want to see that. I have an HOA too, and I heard the HOA mentioned, well, they'll pay for that. My HOA has gone up, 4 times. I'm on a set income. I can't keep paying for stuff that's when there's more and more problems being added onto this. The people here need to be taken care of. The problems that we're getting, they keep increasing. And as you look around, the president's always promising us more jobs. Economy's getting better. It's not. We have to take steps to take care of our community. Otherwise, we're going to be left with all the problems I saw earlier, and they're going to get worse. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hagner.
Jack Carnes?
Good evening. Jack Carnes, North Maplewood Hills Road. Like you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have the water pressure either. I don't run a sprinkler anymore. I just got to let my lawn burn out. So we already have a water pressure issue, and the attorney said that he's a betting man. I'm not. I don't think we have the funds right now, and I don't think it's in the plan to build a new water tower. So it seems like Ozark has the same issue. We always say build it and they will come, and they are coming. And as they come, we don't have the infrastructure. I don't know if you've ever been over at CC and 65. Sometimes it takes you 4, maybe even as many as 6 lights just to get through the intersection. So we're going to add more development so we get backed up even further. Instead of leaving the house 10 or 15 minutes earlier, now it'll be a half hour. We're not a big city, and I've lived in big cities, and that's one of the reasons I came to Nixa, to get away from the big city traffic. The other thing that I'm concerned about is the infrastructure, not only the water pressure and the roads. I'm concerned about what we have at the corner of North Main Street and Tracker Road. We had a developer there that got approval from the planning and zoning for 54, I believe, new one single-family homes, and then the planning and zoning got them approved to multifamily. They haven't started the construction yet, but from what I understand, I came to a couple of those council meetings, it's apartments have been approved. I forget if the number is, but I think it's close to both sides of that road of Tracker in North Main. It's going to be something like 700 units in addition to the units that are already sitting there. So I don't believe we have the infrastructure in the city of Nixa, and I'm not sure if you've really taken it to heart that people, even though you're saying build it and they will come, I may be one of those that may want to consider alternatives, move out in the county where there isn't going to be the traffic. So that's my take on it. I'm not supporting this initiative of more homes until we take care of the infrastructure here in the city of Nixa. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Carnes.
Andrew Miller.
My name is Andrew Mills. I'm here to represent the family who is selling this farm that will hopefully become more estates. I grew up on this land and my parents still live here today. My great-grandparents purchased this property in the mid-1940s. Later, my grandfather inherited it after his parents passed away. After my grandmother passed away last year, our family faced the very difficult decision to sell the farm. Back in 2017, Nixa's former city administrator, Brian Bingle, reached out to my grandmother about helping market this property. At that time, our family wasn't ready. And I want to address the mayor specifically on this. My grandmother was an elderly lady, and he reached out to her. She had just lost a husband, so we were in of 60+ years of marriage, and we were trying to figure out what they were going to do. But now, after many challenges, we believe that its time has come. Over the past several years, it has become harder and harder to operate this land as a farm. As Nixa has grown, our neighbors have moved closer, which has led to new problems. On more than one occasion, fences were cut by people stealing from nearby construction sites. Thankfully, no cattle ever got loose before we discovered the damage. But the liability of raising livestock on this piece of property has become too great. We've also had to deal with new neighbors diverting their water runoff and onto our property, creating constant cleanup issues. I've seen the concerns on Facebook about traffic, water pressure, the types of homes that will be built. I understand those concerns, but I ask you to imagine how quiet it was there here in the 1940s, or as recently as the early 2000s. My family has accepted the growth around us for decades, and we've never fought against it. Now it's time for us to move on. I remember when Castle Rock was built, my grandmother used to complain every night about the light coming into her bedroom window. But she also understood that growth was part of living here in Nixa. One thing I'd like to point out is this property will sell eventually. The question is, don't you, the city of Nixa, want to have to say in what gets built here at the eastern entrance of the city? Or would you rather risk something being developed that the city has no real control over? Our family chose Four Leaf to develop this property because of excellent work they have done in the neighborhoods nearby. We believe they will do a great job here as well, honoring our family's legacy while creating something that benefits the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mills.
Linda White.
Hello. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Linda White. My husband, Rick White, and I reside at 878 East Galloway Court here in Nixa. At the recent Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, staff from the City of Nixa recommended denial of the proposal due to serious concerns regarding water infrastructure. Northeast Nixa consistently experiences low water pressure, as we've all discussed, particularly during peak usage hours. Residents report weak flow in showers, kitchen faucets, difficult outdoor irrigation. In addition to household concerns, fire hydrant pressure in the areas also poses a serious risk to emergency services, response times, and capabilities. These are not isolated incidents. They reflect a systemic issue that will only be amplified by adding hundreds of new homes without significant infrastructure. The developer has been informed by City of Nixa staff for the infrastructure requirements necessary to support the Moore Estates development for annexation. Despite the guidance, the developer is declining to comply with the city's recommendation of a 16-inch main water line and a loop system into Bluebird Hills. Instead, the developer proposes installing a 12-inch main water line and no loop system, an approach that falls short what municipal staff have determined to be necessary to ensure long-term water infrastructure and reliability. The City of Nixa, its residents, we all will be left with a significant infrastructure burden in the future once the lots are sold. The developer will walk away with no accountability, no obligation to resolve the problem that we will be left holding. While we sympathize with the seller's desire to move forward with the sale of their property to the developer of Moore Estates, we believe that the annexation into the City of Nixa should not proceed without the necessary infrastructure improvements. It is not in the public's best interest for a developer to benefit financially from the transaction while bypassing the responsibilities that come with the substantial growth in municipal integration. Public safety is also pressing concern. Between the Meadows apartment complex, proposed Moore Estates, and the new Clover Hill development, including the apartments down on Tracker and Main that were just mentioned, approximately 520 new homes with the first three developments that I stated. Residential units will be added to the Nixa Fire Department protection coverage area. According to the recent post from the district's official Facebook page, they are already managing 3 to 4 simultaneous emergency calls with just 38 sworn firefighters, covering 53 square miles, 24 hours a day. Their resources are already stretched thin. Adding hundreds of new homes without expending emergency services is not sustainable and compromises the safety of our residents. City of Nixa personnel have conducted thorough research, reviewed public feedback, and evaluated the infrastructure realities, not just model-based projections. These professionals are the ones who respond when water service fails. They are accountable for ensuring the municipal systems meet demand. The recommendations to deny this proposal is grounded in the firsthand experience and technical expertise of your gentleman sitting here. To disregard their guidance is to undermine the foundation of responsible governance. If we cannot trust and respect the judgment of our own municipal experts, we risk making decisions that harm the community we are all here to serve. I urge you to prioritize the long-term well-being of Nixa's residents over short-term development gains. Please stand with our professional staff and deny the annexation of Moore Estates. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. White. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Okay. We don't have anybody else signed up, but if anyone else would like to speak on this matter, feel free to do so at this time.
Good evening. Kristen Kennedy, 877 East Galway Court. As you debate and consider this proposal, I would like to highlight some items to keep in mind. You will hear, or you have heard, that the land that is being requested to be annexed is labeled as Tier 1 in the Nixa Comprehensive Plan, and as such should be a priority to annex. It is correct that it's within the Tier 1 category, but you must remember what that designation means. The city plan is a living document with evolving recommendations to guide the city's decisions. It is not a contract. Tier 1 land is a large swath of land that meets the criteria for future urban services. The plan further outlines specific areas within the Tier 1 that are proposed to be annexed. This particular plot of land is not part of that more refined selection of land for annexation, likely for the infrastructure reasons that have been mentioned. I primarily wanted to highlight this to stress the fact that the city has no active desire to annex this land, and there is no requirement for the city to do so. You have also heard about the core issue of water pressure and needed infrastructure. The city staff has done a great job of detailing their reasoning in their memos that they created, but I wanted to highlight a couple of things. In the previous zoning meeting, and even tonight you've heard, the statement that there are no 16-inch water lines in Nixa, but this is a flawed argument. Restricting yourself to previous configurations in a growth situation is a setup for failure. At some point in the past, Nixa had no stoplights, no roundabouts, and even no 4-lane roads. If Nixa limits itself to only what it has done in the past, then it would never grow. As noted by city staff in their memo, the real-world flow numbers are lower than the default model predicts. The city staff worked to adjust the model to help account for the difference. It appears the developer refuses to accept the adjustments and continues to promote a model that utilizes parameters that are known to predict values higher than that is observed in the field. The core issue at hand is truly the risks of undersizing the infrastructure. The city, who would take on all the risk of an incorrectly designed water infrastructure, has proposed a design that meets the city's risk tolerance. The developer, who takes on zero risk, has proposed the minimum design that would legally be required to implement based on a model that already overestimates flow rates. Considering the city is not required to annex the land, nor has a worthy gain for doing so, it is illogical for the city to assume that risk. The developer, who is asking the city to annex the land, is the one that needs to mitigate the risks for the city. Doing so by either implementing a design that the city feels is appropriate or legally taking on the financial burden if the design fails. I would also like to highlight that the developer's traffic study did not study traffic impact beyond the single intersection of Highway CC and Cheyenne. As anyone that drives on CC knows, this is the least concerning intersection for increased traffic from the development. It is very difficult to understand how a decision regarding impact to traffic could be made without a larger traffic study. As a resident of Northeast Nixa, I ask the City Council to please keep these items in mind as you consider this proposal.
Thank you, Mrs. Kennedy.
Thank you.
I will leave the public hearing open if anyone else would like to speak on this. All right. No one else? I will go ahead and close the public hearing. And just to make sure I cover all of my bases, I closed the public hearing on Council Bill 2025-28. And now, since we combined the two, I will open the public hearing on Council Bill 2025-29. So it's the same thing, just the plat instead of the annexation. Fair enough. If nobody would like to speak, I will go ahead and close the public hearing on Council Bill 2025-29. And anything else from council? All right. And before I move on, I just wanted to say thank you again, everybody that's here. I truly enjoy hearing input from everybody, regardless what side. It's good, and there was some research has been done, so I appreciate it. Thank you all very much. I will go ahead and call a 10-minute recess real quick, and we will be back here at roughly 7:40. Thank you. All right, Mrs. Coffey, could you please read Council Bill 2025-30?
First reading Council Bill number 2025-30, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa approving the preliminary plat of the subdivision known as Cobble Creek 4th Edition, which is generally located at the south of Cobble Creek 2nd and 3rd Editions along South Ozark Road, and authorizing certain city officials to take certain actions upon a filing of a final plat. Presenting is City Planner Brendan Justin.
What are you doing?
There's like a sleeve on it that was falling off. That was so. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The preliminary plat for Cobble Creek 4th Edition is located immediately south of Cobble Creek Subdivision's 2nd and 3rd Editions, which, if you're not familiar, they lie at the southwest corner of the intersection of Old Bittersweet Street and Ozark Road. The subject property was originally annexed in 1994, and the preliminary plat for the entire Cobble Creek development was approved in 2000. The development has proceeded rather slowly and in phases, with the most recent phase was completed in 2017. So if you could switch to the next map. So you can see from here that all the streets were stubbed out for future phases. Additionally, municipal water lines are in purple there, sewer lines are in green, and electric, they're a little harder to see, but they're in red and blue up there. They were also extended to the ends of the streets in order to serve the final phase of Cobble Creek. Cobble Creek 4th Edition would be served by Nixa Municipal Electric, Water, and Wastewater Services. Utility easements have been provided everywhere that they were required by code. All municipal services are sufficient to serve and readily available in the immediate area. And I can come back to this map if you guys have any questions about utilities here soon. And you could switch to the third map. Without further ado, here is the proposed preliminary plat. A little small, but there were no real significant changes from what was originally approved in 2000. Due to the lapse in time and the reclassification of Ozark Road, the changes to development standards since 2000, staff felt that it was a reapproval of the 4th edition was probably necessary. So. The approval of the preliminary plat would create 74 buildable lots that would be zoned R1 for single-family residences, and one non-buildable lot intended for stormwater detention, which is Lot 222, which is down in the southeast corner. The people in the audience there, or you guys probably already looked, but it's down here is where the stormwater would be. You can see a small box there. That's an existing lift station that's down in that area that was built for Cobble Creek when that was originally developed, phase 1 of it. So staff worked with the developer to incorporate that lift station into Lot 222. Originally, it was in the backyard of Lot 221, kind of at the north end of it, and there was a utility easement. We just thought it would be easier to for us to access it with it in that common area lot. So. So Lot 222 would be dedicated to the homeowners association for maintenance with, obviously, it's in an easement, so our staff can access the lift station. So stormwater for the entire Cobble Creek development was designed to be retained in 3 areas, Lot 89 and Lot 101, which are in the 2nd edition. You can see Lot 101's up there in the northeast corner. That's the main one for the whole development, and there's one further north of the pool. Sean, you're probably familiar with that one. So, but those are the 3 retention areas for Cobble Creek. There is also one new access point that's proposed by the preliminary plat. It would be added onto Ozark Road. It's kind of, if you can see it there, and for you guys, it's over on this side, on the east. A traffic report from 2000 predicted approximately 10% of the average daily trips for the full Cobble Creek development would use the 3rd access point. For a little background, if you could go up 2 maps. So this is kind of, this will go into this, but for a little background, So in 2011, Old Bittersweet Road, which is right at the very top here, for you guys, it's that one, and Elegant Road, which runs right here north-south up towards 14. There was a big gap in it, and it just kind of, Old Bittersweet dead-ended at Ozark Road here. So when they were connected around 2011, and that was for the Richmond subdivision there. When it generated more traffic, that upsized the road classification of Ozark Road to a secondary arterial. So that's what kicks in. We've required a traffic impact study for that third access point. So that's pending now. We'll have that ready for you at the second reading. So whatever is generated by that traffic impact study is what we would require. So. All public infrastructure, including roadways and sidewalks, are to be constructed to the standards of the Nixa Technical Specification Manual, which are sufficient to accommodate pedestrian and vehicular traffic, as well as emergency response vehicles. The land subject to the preliminary plat is within the current service areas for the Nixa Fire Protection District, the Nixa Police Department, and Nixa Public Schools, and the residents would be added to Council District 2. A public hearing was held at the September 2nd Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. No community members approached the commission. There was one representative of the applicant that approached the commission to make himself available for questions. The commission had no questions for staff or the representative, and they proceeded to vote 5-0 with one absent to recommend approval to City Council. Staff has reviewed the preliminary plat and has determined the document is in conformance with the applicable regulations of the Nixa City Code, specifically sections 115 and 117, regarding major subdivision approval process, as well as dimensional standards and density within an R1 zoning district. Staff recommends approval of this as well, and if you have any questions, we are available.
Does Ozark Road already have curb and gutter all the way to the kind of the property line of this south on Phase 4?
No, not right now. I think Elegant does. I don't believe Old Bittersweet does either. So.
Okay. How's the water pressure over there?
It's sufficient to serve the new development.
Okay. Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions, I will open up the public hearing. If you'd like to speak on this item, do so at this time. And I will close the public hearing. Anything else from council? Fair enough. Moving on, Mrs. Coffey, could you please read Council Bill 2025-31?
First reading Council Bill number 2025-31, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the mayor to execute a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Transportation Alternatives Program Supplement Agreement. Presenting is Street Superintendent Jeff Rissell.
Mayor and Council, good evening. This is really more of a housekeeping item with the Department of Transportation. In 2023, the city was awarded transportation alternative funds for the construction and engineering of the Cheyenne multi-use path. Since that award, funds from the federal level to the state have been allocated to the state transportation block grant funds coffer, and so this ordinance would simply allow us to draw those funds from the STBG funds rather than the TAP funds. There's nothing in the original agreement that changes. All monies stay the same. Everything is identical, with the exception of the name of the funds that we're drawing from.
What are the chances this is the last piece?
We are very close with this project. Bid documents are being prepared. We're very close with finalizing those. Once those are completed, Mr. Woodman is happy with those. We will have to advertise this for 21 days, and at that point, we can make the award and start construction.
Fantastic. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Been a long time coming on this deal. Pretty sure it was in the state of the community 3 years ago. But those guys have worked really hard on it. All right, no other questions. I will open up the public hearing. If you would like to speak on this, do so at this time. And I will close the public hearing. Anything else from council? Fair enough. Mrs. Coffey, could you please read Council Bill 2025-32?
First reading Council Bill number 2025-32, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa adding section 16-272 to the Nixa City Code for the purpose of adopting a prohibition against falsely representing a city employee or agent. Presenting is City Attorney Nick Woodman.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. This is kind of an interesting ordinance that we're asking you to approve. We had an enforcement issue a few months ago involving our solicitor licenses, and we had some individuals who allegedly were soliciting within the city limits without a solicitor's license. Additionally, there was some statements that they may have been holding themselves out as representatives of the city. When my department received this, we looked through the city code to see what additional offenses could be charged for that, and we came up empty on there being a code provision that prohibited individuals from holding themselves out as a city official or an agent. So we thought it would be appropriate to put something together and bring it to the council to consider approving, so that we would have some enforcement tools in the code to handle that. I'm sure there's statutory provisions that would cover this, but if we wanted to enforce it at municipal court ourselves, we would need a code provision to do that, and we don't think we currently have that. So that's what this would do if approved. It would add section 16-272 to the city code, which would prohibit that activity. I'm available for any questions that you all may have about this item, and with that, staff recommends approval.
So I can no longer be Officer Duval on the weekends?
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. That's why we hired you. Thank you, sir. Any other questions? And I appreciate you guys taking this on. I remember hearing about it, so thank you. All right, no other questions. I will open up the public hearing. If you would like to speak on this, do so at this time. And I will close the public hearing. All right, moving on to any other questions, I guess? All right, we're good. Moving on to the resolutions section. Mrs. Coffey, could you please read Resolution 2025-43?
Resolution number 2025-43, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the city administrator to solicit proposals for auditing services. Presenting is Finance Director Jennifer Evans.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Our current auditing firm is Decker & D. Good, and they've recently undergone some changes and spun out the governmental auditing services into a separate LLC and tax ID with a separate tax ID number called Decker & Pace. If you'll recall, Blake Pace presented our audit this year. And so because of that, Decker & Pace was not the original bidder on our contract. And so for that reason, we need to go back out to bid for auditing services and open that back up and get under contract with, whomever wins the bid. So having said that, I'll answer any questions that you have.
Any questions?
The current Decker & Pace will provide the audit to be presented for next year.
We will get whoever wins this RFP on contract to do the 2025 audit.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mrs. Evans. No other questions. I will open up the public hearing. If you would like to speak on this, do so at this time. And I will close the public hearing. Anything else from council? Nothing else. I will accept a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
First by Mr. Peterson, a second by Mrs. Morris. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries. All right, Mrs. Coffey, could you please read Resolution 2025-44?
Resolution number 2025-44, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract in the amount not to exceed $23,340 with Simco Contracting Group LLC for sewer lining services, presenting as Water Superintendent Jason Stutzman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is part of our I&I program. We've got an 8-inch sewer line in the back lots in the subdivision of Rain Tree that just needs some spot repairs. Once it's finished, then we'll be done with that little project and move on to the next.
You gonna be in a magazine for this one too?
God, I hope not.
Any questions?
Between TV interviews and this, I'm about done for a little bit.
You've done a great job.
Face for radio.
Thank you, sir. No other questions, I will open up the public hearing. Who would like to speak on this? And I will close the public hearing. Anything further from council? Nothing further, I will accept the motion.
So made.
Second.
First by Mr. Lucas, a second by Mr. Vess. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, next up, Mrs. Coffey, could you please read Resolution 2025-45?
Resolution number 2025-45, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract in the amount not to exceed $353,889 with Ozark Electric Cooperative Incorporated for certain utility relocations, presenting as Street Superintendent Jeff Russell.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Unfortunately, on our Main Street project, there are certain utilities that are within their own private easements. Ozark Electric is one of those utilities, and to accommodate the expansion of the road, the addition of stormwater improvements and ADA improvements, this utility needs to be moved. Since it is within their own private easement, that burden falls to us as the cost of that. We have worked with Ozark Electric, have reviewed their plans and whatnot to determine that this amount of $353,889 is a reasonable amount to move that utility. There is portions of it that will need to go underground that did raise the cost a little bit due to the MPUA and KMO power lines there for those clearances that are required. And so with that said, it is staff's recommendation to pass this resolution and enter into this agreement and pay to have their utility moved so we can build this road. Something I would like to mention to council is that we are exploring the possibility of additional funds in the amount of $206,000 that could go to offset this, so.
That would be fantastic. Any questions? If approved, when would they start this?
The project can't start until a notice to proceed is given by the state.
Because of the bats?
Yeah, we have a bat window that they can't start construction until, I believe, October 16th.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? No other questions, I will open up the public hearing. And I will close the public hearing. Any questions or discussion from council? Fair enough, nothing further, I will accept a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
First by Mrs. Morris, a second by Mr. Peterson. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. We have a discussion item. I believe that would be you, Mr. Woodman.
Oh, wow, he's getting up at the top about that.
Must be serious, you're coming up.
Ooh.
But no click.
There's no clicker.
So you beat up the microphone and still the clicker.
Well, this one's not working, so. Well, good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm before you this evening for a discussion item about charter amendments regarding council vacancy. If I could get to the next slide, please.
Turn it on. Sometimes you just gotta turn it on.
I think if you snap your fingers, it'll go to the next one too.
That'd be cool.
They'll just have to-
Right. So at the council workshop a few months ago, we had a discussion item about potential amendments to the city charter to address some concerns that were raised about Charter Section 3.6C, which contains the provisions regarding how council vacancies are filled when we have a member of council who is no longer on council due to resignation or otherwise. The current language sometimes results in situations where the council has to suffer a vacancy for a long time, and the city has to deal with the cost of calling a special election. So to kind of address those concerns, staff has prepared two potential charter amendments. One option would allow the council to fill the vacant seat until the next regular municipal election. And then another option would allow the council to fill the vacant seat for the remainder of the unexpired term. So what we have for you this evening is a discussion item for us to kind of get direction on which area you would want to proceed with on that. I've identified some pros and cons. These are just my thoughts. I think reasonable minds could differ on these things. So adopting the next municipal election requirement, the pro that I see to that is it preserves the existing intent currently in the charter vacancy section that the appointed council member is tested by the voters as soon as possible. The con on that I can think of is that if you had a situation where you had a vacancy happen in year 1.5 of a term, their 3-year term, so you're a year and 6 months into a term, then the council would make an appointment for 6 months, assuming the vacancy occurred as soon as the person took office. You'd appoint for 6 months and then have an election for a 1-year term, which could result in some weird, just some weird scenarios or some unintended consequences. Option 2 is that the charter be written to allow the council to appoint the replacement council person for the remainder of the unexpired term. So the pro that I see with that is it's really uncomplicated. You just appoint someone and they serve until that original person's term would be up. The potential downside to that is that person could be untested before the voters for a substantial amount of time. If you have a situation where someone's appointed within like 1 month of, you have a vacancy within 1 month of an election, then that person's going to be the council person for 2 years and 11 months potentially. So that kind of goes away from how the charter is currently written on making sure the person's tested as soon as possible. So those are the two items. I have some logistics I want to mention too. So the next election that we could take this question to the voters would be April 7th. We have to have charter amendments approved by the people since the charter is the organic document of the city. The final certification date for that would be January 27th of 2026. So if we wanted to get something on the ballot for April 7th, we would need to have an ordinance second read and approved prior to that January 27th date. So there's time to mold this, but some direction from council on how you all might want to proceed on that between those two options would give us the direction that we need to draft the ballot ordinance. Are there any questions on that? The last slide is the two amendments side by side, just so you all can kind of have that there at the end. So
could option 1 be they would fill the vacant seat until the next municipal election, and actually the option that, or the example you gave, if it's if it's a month away from the election, they still wouldn't be able to run in that election anyway.
Right, because the
And
closing would be.
The closing
yeah.
would have already been passed. But, so say that they fill, we appoint someone, they fill the seat, and there is 2 years left on that term, couldn't they just run for a 2-year term?
Yeah.
That way we don't get things out of whack with
Yeah, and that's what we
everyone
do.
falling off at once.
We've had that happen under the current language. We've had some members elect, or they've run for a term that's 1 year.
Yeah, I believe Mr. Vest did, didn't
Yeah.
you? Yeah. And that's the one that, I mean, kind of, to me, it makes the most sense, but it needs to be changed to the next municipal election, so we don't have to do what we recently did and pay for a special election.
Yeah, so that's what option one would do. So both options remove the requirement that council has to call a special election, which is what we had to do this last time. And that's the expense component. If we tie it to the next regular municipal election, which is what both of these do, then, I mean, we have those every election cycle. So there shouldn't be the expense is already baked in, was kind of the thought on that.
Yeah, and my personal opinion is they shouldn't, I don't think it's right to have them fill the duration of the unexpired term because they weren't voted in to do that. To me, that's just.
Right, but then we also have someone that's volunteering to step in for a role, but for them to continue that role, they have to go and we have to have an election, and it can be for a 1-year term.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
at that point, then they're elected by the people that they're
Right.
representing and not just picked by us.
It's
I mean, I see
total,
both sides
it's
of it.
totally a policy call, so I'm not gonna weigh in on it, but option one does attempt to preserve what the charter currently does with having the person tested by the voters as soon as possible. It would just be not at a special election, but at the general municipal election.
Yeah.
So it basically does the same thing, except for flip-flopping when they have to be elected. Okay.
And I mean, and that's the thing that we have to think about is I trust this group. We have a great council, but who's to say that's going to be the same forever? And I've seen things happen, not here, but in other areas. And if someone stepped in or someone won an election and then resigned 2 months into their term, then we could handpick someone for almost a 3-year term.
Yeah.
And that takes the power away from the voters, which I think is just not right at all.
Right, and now you do have the recall provisions in the charter.
Yeah, it gets
now.
messy.
It is, I agree, but something to be aware of, that there is an avenue for the voter to potentially have access to that.
Yeah.
As far as option one, your scenario where someone resigns or leaves within or beyond the window to file for the next municipal election, would we have to appoint someone, or could we
No,
forego?
so that's a good question. So if, say, we're a month from the municipal election, you're already going to have candidates who've signed up. It would be up to council's discretion on how long they wanted to suffer that vacancy for. So if council decided amongst itself that, a month is fine, we can wait and see what the election would yield, then you don't have to, it doesn't require you to appoint somebody. It just gives you the power to do that. So that would be a policy question for the council to discuss.
Yeah, I think we'd probably be okay with a couple meetings, but going a whole
Right.
year or.
Right. No, I was just trying to.
Or 6 months, because that was
pretty tough.
That was a nightmare, just trying to make sure everyone was going to be here, and, yeah.
I like option one.
Everybody go with it. So it sounds like, and
Proceed with
I mean,
option
feel
one.
free to correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, option one, and
There'll be another opportunity to weigh in on this, because we'll have to bring a bill forward, and if opinions change, that can be amended. But we'll proceed with drafting a ballot ordinance for option one at the April election in '26.
Perfect. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
That was a lot faster than the last conversation we had about that. All right. One thing that I wanted to add, maybe more than one, but I just wanted to thank everybody who helped out with the Multicultural Festival. We got lucky, that's for sure. I know when we first got there, it was not looking great. And then the weather kind of cleared up, and while that did kind of hurt attendance, I believe, I think everybody that was involved from, well, I'll get to her last, but from, the Parks Department to all the staff, the Communications Department working so hard to get the word out there, all the council members with help getting the word out there, and then those who showed up to volunteer, but most importantly, Miss Becca Coffey, for everything that you did. I think that's going to continue to grow and be an amazing event. Next year, I need to spend more time actually going around to the vendors. I was able to buy some stuff while I was there, though. Pretty pumped about that. I thought it went really well. It was great having the police there. I think they were able to get pretty engaged with the community, and I might have been able to give them a hard time a lot because I had a microphone and I could. So, but it was a lot of fun. I appreciate all your guys' help with that. We have some other events coming up soon, so that's all I can think of right now. Anything from staff?
Mr. Cross?
Yeah, the Parks has a few things going on. Our last Movies of the Park of this season, sponsored by the Massengale Group, is this Saturday night. We're showing the new Wicked for the first, be just in time for the second Wicked to come out, I think, in November. We also have our last volunteer day of the year, October 4th. And then just a reminder that the Splash Pad's last day for this season is a week from today at the end of the month. And so we'll be closing down the Splash Pad and winterizing it until next year.
That got sad pretty quick. Okay.
And I think the only thing we have is Chief.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we did have to cancel the groundbreaking for tonight. Obviously, the weather wasn't cooperating, but we have rescheduled that for next Tuesday at 5, and that will be, I believe that's the 30th at 5 p.m. And so we will do that on site over there, and hopefully the weather will hold off and we'll have a great groundbreaking.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief. Anything else from council?
Thursday, there is an event. The Nixa Ozark Blood Drive will be taking place Thursday at Aldersgate Church here in Nixa from 10:30 to 4:30. We just encourage everyone to come out and donate blood. As the mayor so eloquently stated, it not only benefits us, but the community as a whole when we participate in this event.
And we lost the trophy last year. So I expect every single person in this room, including you, Mr. Titus, I will see you at the blood drive. And I'm going to need this. I know for some reason police are afraid of needles, but I'm going to need you guys there.
How was the phone call today? You can be a hero to your community.
Yeah, that's weird getting a call from yourself. That was really awkward.
My wife and I's phone rang at the same time.
Okay. Yeah, that was a tad awkward. And then this next month, October especially, is going to be extremely busy. One thing that we did have to do, October, let me look at dates real quick. It's be our second meeting of October. And I was actually going to make sure council is okay with this, which is currently scheduled for the 28th. I need to move that to the 27th. It would be a Monday. Same time, 6 o'clock, because the 28th is the State of the Community dinner. So I need to be at that. So does anyone have any scheduling conflicts for Monday the 27th at 6 o'clock?
No.
Well, I will check with Mrs. Graham, make sure that's okay with her. If that's the case, we'll go ahead and get that updated. And And I'm pretty sure, I don't believe there's anything else. We're getting ready to start budget season. Well, I mean, it's already started, but you guys are getting ready to start budget, so.
Yeah, we've already started that.
So get some sleep, because.
But as a reminder, the mayor says it's going to be a busy month. Make sure you have marked on your calendars the 21st as well, is there going to be our budget workshop. So I just want to make sure that council has that on their calendars. We will be providing dinner for council that night as
Oh,
well.
yeah, it's on there. At 6.
6 o'clock, correct? Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, if there is nothing else from staff or council, thank you all very much. Meeting adjourned.